Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Landon. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're into these discussion / speculative videos about Splatoon. I'm really trying to find my target audience. I'm really trying to push this. So if you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to subscribe. But yeah, let's get started. Like I said, I'll be starting each of my videos with a mini Q&A segment. I'll do this at the start of each video, so be sure to comment anything about me or about Splatoon. And I do have a few questions here. I do actually have a little bit more than last time, so that's great. So let's get started. So we have ZZZZ asking, would you be willing to record some gameplay by yourself, with followers, or friends? Yes, I definitely would. Sadly, I do not have the right equipment for that. I do not have a capture card or my computer's really crappy. So I sadly cannot do that at the moment, but I would love to. That's kind of the reason I do these kind of videos. I want to make Splatoon videos, but I'm very limited on how I can do that. So yeah, I would like to though. We have another name that I'm going to struggle to pronounce, but I'll have it up on screen for you guys. What's your favorite thing about the Splatoon series? Is it the characters, the lore, the gameplay, etc.? This is a great question. I gotta say, definitely story, lore, characters. I know it's a pretty broad grouping there, but I'm a sucker for a good story, and I think the Splatoon stories are really interesting, even if they don't really explore that much or go in at as much depth as they could. I think Octo Expansion has definitely done it the best so far, but I love all the characters and just seeing the way they grow and change, especially like Agent 3 becoming the captain. I love that sort of thing. And then the lore in Splatoon has always been more interesting. This might be controversial. I always thought the Splatoon lore is more deep than even FNAF lore, but I'm sure there's some people that would yell at me for that. I'm just saying, but that's just my take on it. I actually got another comment on the video before my last video, the one where I talked about the second wave of third kits, or the hypothetical second wave of third kits, and I caught it, so I was like, okay, I'll just throw it in here. Elijah asks, do you live stream? Simple answer, no, I do not. It kind of boils back down to the previous question about recording, is that I really can't at the moment, but I would like to eventually. Gavin says Cool Locker, referring to when I showed off that clip of my Splatoon locker in my last video, which you should check out, by the way. And my locker looks sick, that's another reason. But then proceeds to ask, now, what are all of the numbers on the back of your credit card? I do not have a credit card. I have a debit card, so sadly, I cannot provide this information for you guys, but yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, let's get right into it with my hopes for Splatoon Raiders. That is today's topic. What are my hopes for Splatoon Raiders? I know I'm a little bit late to jump on this train, but I have some thoughts, and I really want to share them with you guys and, see what you guys think. So, this one's pretty much a given in terms of everybody's going to want this, but a full game with tons of features and replayability, not a $70 DLC. Splatoon has never done a story-only game. At least that's what we think this is going to be. There shouldn't be any online gameplay unless they add co-op or something for the story mode, which I personally think would be really cool. But other than that, this is not going to be like the mainline games where the point of the game is to play online matches. This is going to be a full story game, and it should be treated as such. If it's a game that's of a smaller scale, then they could at least price it differently. But I'm hoping that it's a full game with a lot going on. We just got Donkey Kong Bonanza. That was a pretty full game with a lot to do. I'm still working through that game myself, and I'm really hoping Splatoon Raiders follows that same thing. Also, by the way, I'm going to try as to not make this video too long, I'm gonna try to move quickly between my points here. This one's about customization. All new hairstyles and no new returning ones. I have more onto this, but just real quick, I know some people might be mad about that one. A lot of people like the hairstyles that are already in the game, but I really want this game to feel different from an aesthetic standpoint. The hairstyle on the mecha / mechanic character that's already been shown off has very much a survivalistic style to it, and I would like every hairstyle to have that similar look. So they can at least like remix hairstyles from previous games. That's kind of what they did with that one. It has like the dried like tentacle parts on it, like that one hairstyle in Splatoon 3. I don't know what it's actually called, but you guys should know what I'm talking about. I'm hoping for at least 8 per species, assuming Octolings are playable as well. I don't think that they're going to make this game only Inklings. That'd be weird, but who knows? Anything can happen. And maybe even some new customization features. The character looks like she has freckles, so that's a good sign that we could be getting some new features that could even be implemented into future games. Going off of something I said earlier during the Q&A segment, I want an actual story with characterization, developments, and payoffs. Like I said, I love a good story. I don't want this to feel dry. I personally really enjoyed Return of the Mammalians, but if you look back on it, there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't really make sense. Like, you know, Deep Cut not really having a lot of significance besides, you know, being boss fights and that sort of thing. I feel like Octo Expansion did a really good job kind of developing the actual characters. They had the chat logs, they had the radio calls, the Memcakes developed Agent 8, which is the player character. They've never done that before. They've never characterized one of the player characters like that before. And we got a little bit of that in Side Order as well, but that's just kind of something I am really, really hoping for. It's just a really good, enjoyable story. Got to keep my hopes up for that one, because Splatoon's never been big on their stories, but this is also the first time the story is a main focus. Like, the entire focus of the game is going to be the story and the gameplay rather than online. So, really, really hoping for this, right? Hopefully, we get a handful of new characters, not just Deep Cut. I think Deep Cut's great, and it's great that they're finally getting their own focus. A lot of people will say they got sidelined in Splatoon 3, and I could definitely agree with that. Because in Splatoon 2, while Pearl and Marina were not part of the main story, they played a huge role in the DLC, whereas Deep Cut's only role is a kind of side, you know, antagonistic role in the Return of the Mammalians hero mode. But I'm hoping for some new characters, kind of like Isopadre, that kind of character, or I think his name is Cypher from Side Order as well. I'm hoping for just a bunch of new characters, or some returning ones. If we can find a way to get Agent 4 in here. Everybody's wanting Agent 4 to come back. I made a video about that. That's one of my older ones. Nicely made video, I'd say, by me. You should check that one out. But yeah, I'm hoping for a handful of new characters. That's just kind of it. Yeah. I would love a kind of pseudo open world. What I mean by that is something like Bowser's Fury. I've not played Bowser's Fury, but I've seen gameplay and I've heard people talk about it. And pretty much it's this kind of more open world made up of a bunch of like large areas that you can travel between. I'm really hoping Splatoon Raiders is like this. I don't need a Breath of the Wild Splatoon. I don't need a Mario Kart World Splatoon. I would just love to see this whole world connected and you can just travel between what looks to be multiple islands. If you guys see in the trailer, which I have up on screen right now, you might be able to catch some islands, multiple islands that are themed around different kind of environments, and I'm hoping we can travel between them. My last main hope here is I want tons of like mini bosses that you can find around the world, similar to Breath of the Wild. My best example for this is like the stone taluses. They'll just pop up randomly. Yeah, I want like a tons of bosses. They could be very, in terms of difficulty, they could be very similar to Salmon Run bosses. Where some of them take a little bit of skill and challenge the beat, but they aren't like too bad, you know what I mean? I just want there to be a lot of stuff to do in this game, and I think having a ton of different bosses that you can find. Of course, there should definitely be main bosses. Like every Splatoon story has about 5 main bosses, but I definitely want a ton of mini ones that go along with the like lessers enemies or whatever. Yeah, but that's kind of it. Those are all of my main hopes for Splatoon Raiders. Be sure to let me know what you guys think about any of this stuff. I know a lot of it isn't too surprising, but I'm very excited for this game, and I definitely want what is best for it. Like I said, be sure to comment down below for the Q&A segment that I do every video. It's going to be a regular thing, and I would like to have more comments to choose from, because I love answering all these questions and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.